In the quiet town of Norfolk, there stood an old hospital that had been closed for more than 30 years. Locals called it St. Mary's, but most people only whispered its name, as if speaking it too loudly might invite something unwanted. The hospital was once the heart of the town, where countless lives had been saved and lost. After a fire broke out in one of the wards in the late 80s, the building was shut down. Since then, it stood as a hollow skeleton, windows shattered, paint peeling, and long corridors filled with dust and silence. But the silence was not as empty as it seemed. Teenagers often dared each other to sneak inside at night. Most came out laughing nervously, swearing they'd heard nothing but the creak of old wood. Yet a few, they spoke of voices, not loud screams or cries, but soft whispers, whispers that seemed to call their names. In 2019, a local YouTuber named Daniel decided to investigate. With his camera and a torch, he entered St. Mary's at midnight, determined to spend the entire night inside. At first, the hospital was eerily quiet. The torchlight revealed broken wheelchairs, rusted stretchers, and faded signs that still hung on the walls. Ward 3, surgery, maternity. The air smelled of damp and ash, as though the fire still lingered. Then came the first whisper. It was faint, so faint Daniel thought it might have been the wind. He paused, holding his breath. And then he heard it again. A woman's voice, soft, almost caring. Daniel. His stomach dropped. No one was supposed to know his name. He convinced himself it was imagination, and continued filming. But as he walked down the maternity corridor, the whispers grew stronger. More voices joined in. Some sounded sad, others angry. The camera caught everything. The flicker of lights, even though the electricity had been cut decades ago. The sound of footsteps following him, though the floor was covered in debris, and doors that opened on their own. At one point, Daniel's torch caught a glimpse of something at the end of the corridor. A shadow, tall, thin, unmoving. He called out, but there was no answer. The shadow didn't vanish, it simply faded into the darkness. By 3 a.m., Daniel was shaken but determined to stay. That's when he reached Ward 3, the ward where the fire had started years ago. The air was thick and heavy, colder than the rest of the hospital. As he entered, his camera captured a voice, clear and chilling. "Help us." It wasn't just one voice, it was many, overlapping, as though dozens of people were crying out together. Daniel dropped his camera and bolted out of the ward. The footage ended there. When his friends found him the next morning, he was sitting outside the hospital, pale, shaking, and unable to speak. He didn't upload the video for weeks. When he finally did, viewers noticed something strange. In the footage where Daniel stood in Ward 3, there were faint shapes visible behind him, like figures in hospital gowns, staring directly at the camera. No one knows what Daniel really saw that night. He never returned to St. Mary's. The hospital still stands today, abandoned and rotting. But if you ask the locals, they'll tell you the same thing. Don't go near it at night. Because in St. Mary's, silence is never truly silent.